Yeah, let's try that. Maybe. There we go. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's wonderful
Shabbat
to all
Shalom.
be here together,
Shabbat Shalom.
here on Zoom, on YouTube Live, from Or Hadash, from KI. I know that we have folks from all up and down the East Coast, in New York City and Washington, DC, and Baltimore. I heard there might be, Janice, is your daughter from California joining us as well, since we're online? But from wherever it is that you are joining us this evening, Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rabbi Alanna Sklover from Or Hadash.
And I'm Cantor Amy Levy from KI, and I'm so happy to be leading with you, Rabbi Sklover. It's so wonderful, and as well, our partnership with the Holocaust Awareness and Education Museum. Thank you so much, and Steve Fisher and his crew. We're so excited to share this evening with you. And I just want to say hello and Shabbat Shalom from Rabbi Sussman, who's still recovering from a recent bout of illness, and he's getting stronger, and hopefully we'll get to see him next week, but he sends his love and his warm greetings as well.
Wonderful. And since we are on multiple platforms tonight, both here on Zoom and on YouTube Live, I just want to invite everyone to take a second, whether you're on the YouTube stream or on Zoom, to find the chat feature and take a moment and introduce yourselves. Share your name, where it is you're joining from this evening, so that we can all come together as one community. And throughout the service, we'll be, soliciting different things in the chat, which will then get read across platforms by someone who's on both. So take a second and introduce yourselves. I'm going to turn it over to Cantor Levy and a video greeting from the president of HAMEC.
Shabbat Shalom. I am Chuck Feldman, president of the Holocaust Awareness Museum and Education Center. A thank you to the congregations of Knesset Israel and Or Hadash for inviting us to partner with you on this important day. We have, our survivors have spoken to over 300,000 students, young people, over the last 12 years. And now, not only in our area, but all over the country and all over the world, including places as far away as Australia, where we have partnered with the organization We Are Here. And they have sent us to schools in both South Africa and Poland. So a thank you to them as well. Our survivors, our heroes, keep going. In fact, during the past year, during COVID, we have done virtual programming to over 220 schools, reaching over 23,000 students. This is our mission. Why do we do it? Because hate never takes a vacation, neither can we. Thank you all, and thank you for continuing to support our survivors and their mission, our mission, to make this a better world.
Thank you so much, Chuck. We join with Cantor Levy for our opening song, Ani Ma'amin.
Ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amin, b'emunah shelema, b'emunah בביאת המשיח אני מאמין. בביאת המשיח, בביאת המשיח אני מאמין. אני מאמין, אני מאמין, אני מאמין.
Welcome Dan Schwartz and his Dan and Bertha Schwartz, and call them forward as we light the Shabbat candles. And Dan and Bertha are actually, we're going to do a little dual candle lighting because Dan and Bertha are unable to light Shabbat candles physically this evening because, as you can see, Bertha is in rehab recovering, and there are no candles allowed to be lit in rehab. So Dan and Bertha, if you'll read the blessing of Shabbat light and lead us in the bracha, I will light our candles when we get to that point. And we are thrilled that both you and your mother are joining us this evening. Dan is the chair of the Holocaust Education Task Force at Or Hadash, and an involved member of HAMEC, and his mother Bertha, a survivor, both came out with a memoir last year and has her story memorialized in HAMEC's archives. Dan.
Thank you, Rabbi. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I just want to say a special thank you to Dan, who really put us together here, Or Hadash and KI. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. I'm going to now call upon a KI member. Her name is Lisa Marlowe. She's an amazing teacher, and she recently received the History Channel Teacher Award and a Human and Civil Rights Award from the Pennsylvania State Educator Association. And also HAMEC honored her with their Educator Award in 2018. And we just absolutely love her. She is our beloved KI member and teacher. Lisa Marlowe, if you would unmute.
Hello, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We gather as a community of family and friends to celebrate Shabbat. We thank you, Eternal One, for the Sabbath and its holiness. We lift this cup in thankfulness for life and for all the blessings which give our lives meaning and purpose. We thank you, Eternal One, for our heritage and our community. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahabahu v'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrei kodesh, zeichel etziat Mitzrayim, kivanu b'charta, v'yotanu kidasha, mikol ha'lim, v'shabbat kodeshecha, v'ahabahu v'ratzon. Ratzon Inchaltanu Baruch Atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
L'chaim. We continue as we greet the Shabbat bride with Lecha Dodi, a song of welcome and a song of bringing in not only the spiritual presence of the Shabbat bride, but also our day of rest, this metaphorical, this space that does not exist in the physical, but only as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel describes it, as a palace in time. We enter in to these 25 hours of rest. We allow ourselves to exhale. We've needed a lot of that exhalation in these last few weeks. And so we allow ourselves, as we exhale, to make space for the Shabbat that we welcome in. We don't take that time to put aside, to let out, we don't actually have the space to be able to bring in that capacity to rest. So as we turn to Lecha Dodi, I want to invite everyone to join me in taking a deep cleansing breath, both in, but more importantly, out. So as we make space to bring in Shabbat. Cantor Levy.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala pnei Shabbat, nekabla, lecha Dodi, likrat kala pnei Shabbat, nekabla, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom umevorach.
We rise together in spirit or in body for Chatzi Kaddish as we transition from Kabbalat Shabbat into our Ma'ariv service. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrei chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei tachol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kari Veimeru.
Amen.
Amen.
Yesh Merabah Mevorach, Leolam Ulal Me'almaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Yitpar Vitromam Vitnasei, Vitadar, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemei de Kudesha. Leila min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma ve'imeru. Amen. And we can be seated and we take down our beautiful Shabbat slides with our liturgy and take a moment as we move out of Kabbalat Shabbat, the introductory psalms and music for welcoming in Shabbat, to do a little bit of Kabbalat Panim, to greet one another's faces, because we don't enter Shabbat in a vacuum. I mean, some of us might, right? If we light our candles and have challah and our Kiddush wine around our tables and are sitting by ourselves, but we've all made the choice on this evening to not do that. The 62 of us, or the 62 screens of us who are gathered here on Zoom, alongside the 72 screens that at least I have acknowledged as logged in here on YouTube Live, are not sitting alone in our, between our four walls. We are here together in real time. We're not watching the live stream, at 8 p.m. or tomorrow morning or whenever it's convenient for us. We are here together making a minyan, a group, a quorum of way more than 10 adult Jewish folks gathered to allow ourselves to be here in community and to pray the fullness of our service, to say the mourner's Kaddish, to learn words of Torah together, and to bear witness to the extraordinary and the mundane acts of holiness that we create when we come together in community. So I want to invite everyone to, here's what I'm going to do, since we are 62 folks on Zoom and 72 folks on YouTube Live. Here's what I want you to do. I want everyone to pick a name of someone they don't know that they've seen in the chat or that they see in the participants list, and type not on private chat, but on everyone sees it chat, a Shabbat Shalom message to that person, someone you don't know. And then only after you say hello to someone you don't know, then you can say a Shabbat Shalom to someone you do know. So we take a second and we greet one another from across the congregations, from across geography, and wish a Shabbat Shalom as we prepare to rise in spirit or in body for the Baruch Hu. So as those Shabbat Shaloms are rolling, we rise together in spirit or in body. Ooh, I'm loving this. This is so much fun to watch. For Baruch Hu, and as we bless the source of life. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us strength and makes our vision clear. And the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Be seated. You know what? We are not going to be seated because we're turning straight to the Shema. So we turn also to Cantor Levy, who will lead us in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam va'ed.
Can be seated. We'll continue with Ve'ahavta.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'b'chol nefshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'kumecha Ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We continue now with our Song of Freedom, Mi Chamocha. Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha va'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nodai tehilot, osei feleh. Norai tehilot, osei feleh Adonai, yimloch le'olam va'ed. And now a prayer for protection, for strength, for well-being. If we can just imagine ourselves close by, feeling that sukkah of peace surrounding us with full peace. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom, v'hamideinu shomreinu lechaim.
Ushmor seitenu roenu lechaim u'leshalom ve'ata ve'ad olam ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha baruch ata Adonai ohev Yisrael v'kol yoshvei tevel ve'al Yerushalayim. Rise. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I want to apologize. My internet crashed somehow. I'm glad to be back.
I was covering for you, Rabbi.
Oh, well, this is just the beauty of being able to co-lead in a place where we have two different internet connections, because when one goes out, one is still strong.
Right.
Rise in spirit or in body for the Amidah, for Tefillah. I'm going to share a reading from Sidur Kol HaNeshama by Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg as an introduction to the Amidah. Dear God, open the blocked passageways to you, the congealed places. Roll away the heavy stone from the well, as your servant Jacob did when he beheld his beloved Rachel. Help us open the doors of trust that have been jammed with hurt and rejection. As you open the blossoms in spring, even as you open the heavens in storm, open us to feel your great, awesome, wonderful presence. Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftahu fi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotinu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zacher Chasadei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula libnei b'neihem, Ve'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atarav Lehoshia, Mechakel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Tzomech Noflim Berofeh Ohonim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umido Mehelach, Melech Meimit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah L'Hachayot HaKol. Baruch Atah Adonai Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh V'Shimcha Kadosh U'Kadoshim B'chol Yom Yahalu Chasela. Baruch Atah Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh.
Gratitude. Gift of goodness, God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth, which day by day sustains us. For all those and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha u'lechana eleodot. We continue silently with the rest of the Amidah, or with our own silent prayer, our own pace and in our own way.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Shabbat Shalom. We come out of this most private part and quiet part of our service, the silent prayer, into one of our most public and outward facing pieces of our service, the Mishaberach Lecholim, our prayer for healing and wholeness. We turn from the prayers of our hearts to the prayers for those in our community and in our concentric circles of community, in our Or Hadash, in our KI communities, in our families, in our neighborhoods, in our city, in our state, in our country, in our world, who are in need of healing of body, healing of mind, healing of spirit, and we wish them a refuah shlema, a whole healing, or a healing with wholeness. We know that it is not only through the words of prayer that that wholeness comes. It's through the acts of our hands. It's by bringing each other chicken soup. It's by smiling at one another. It's by picking up the phone and calling or texting to check in. It's by checking in with a friend that you haven't heard from for weeks and weeks to say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're doing all right. That we find wholeness, whether that wholeness is a physical healing or whether that wholeness is a whole within ourselves that only we, one another, can fill. So I want to invite you to share in the chat the names of those who you're holding for healing tonight, especially during this time where we are in need of so much healing, physical healing, as so many are recovering from COVID-19, God willing, recovering in all of our communities, and also in our communities where so many, especially as we are in the midst of a little bit more physical isolation and physical distancing from one another, battling all of those manifestations of mental illness that have reared their ugly heads over these past 22 months, exacerbated by that isolation, and also the healing of that trauma that comes with the sting of anti-Semitism, as we are still sort of recovering as a Jewish community from 2 Shabbatot ago, the attack, the hostage crisis in Colleyville, and what that means for all of us as we sit here as American Jewish folks, especially this week of Holocaust Remembrance Day. So we hold all of this in our hearts as we turn to our Mishaberach, and we'll share the names aloud between the 2 verses of our prayer and song.
Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This evening, we're thinking of and sending our hopes and our energy for healing and wholeness to Bertha Schwartz, Bella Mandelbrod, Moti Carniel, Tamar Krovner, Oshrat Aviad, Kenny Gorelik, our country in need of healing, all those recovering from COVID, Harris Steinberg, Nomi Batten Omi, Tristam Kitchener, Bonnie and Gren Hayes, Anna Salon, Mel Vatz, Barry Gross, Becca Newman, Sandra Burson, Ken Popke, Paul Christie, Janet Kramer, Howard Weiner, Eric Griffin Shelley, Dave Chapman, Hugh Stevenson, Millie Weissman, Catherine Clark Weldon, Richard Krasen, Marcy Fish, Bubby Weinberg, who's Bev's mom, Kat Marlowe, Moshe Halevi, Ben Fagel, Larry Klepner, Henry Raymond, and here we go. Rob Rago, Rhoda Gansler, Justin Ryan, all those who have COVID, Rosine Paul, Debbie Hoffman, Bobby Olchin, Michael Schatz, Willa Silverman, Zahava Bat Shulamit, who needs refuah shlema, Sylvia Sherman, Meta Ann Strom. Are there others? Let's see here. Doug Proudman, Rob Johnson, Fran Anderson, Dorothy Berlin, and Alan Ackman.
Mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So we're thrilled to be pausing in our service tonight for a very special, can we say Devar Shira, a very special word of Torah in presentation and song from Steve Fisher and from several members of the cast of The Last Boy, a new play with music, and we are thrilled to be welcoming Stephen Fisher, who's the director of the play, and who has been shepherding this important work written by boys who perished in the Holocaust, now set to music and speech, which has had its off-Broadway premiere and will again be opening in New York this spring. Steve, when is the date of the new opening? Or do we not have it yet?
It is a one-night only performance of the play, a benefit on Broadway, a Yom HaShoah to remember on April 27th.
Wonderful, which I believe is a Wednesday, and we are hoping to arrange transportation from Philadelphia for that event. And so without further ado, I am going to hand it over to the one, the only Steve Fisher for several words about this incredible project that he has brought to fruition, and the voices that he has lifted up through these generations through the voices of a next generation of boys, so that those boys may never be the last boy, and there will always be boys to carry on their words, their song, and their stories. Steve.
Thank you, Rabbi. I know it's a bit dramatic. Maybe it's appropriate for a theater piece, but it's the room with the best internet connection and the least lighting. So it is a privilege to be here. Shabbat Shalom. And I would like to just start with thank yous, because, we can forget about thank yous. Rabbi Sussman, Rabbi, thank you for having us. And also Abby, Ruth, and Lisa Marlowe. I think, as mentioned, Lisa's really the reason why I have come to know the KI community. And I also want to embarrass Cantor Amy. If you know Amy, yes, her gorgeous voice, but for as long as I have known her, her smile and her warmth is light in this world. So thank you, Amy, for being you. I'm going to share a very short video. Can folks see that?
Yes.
In Terezin concentration camp,
a dorm room full of teenage boys created a magazine.
Right under the noses of the Nazis.
Little did they know it would become
the longest-running underground publication
of the Holocaust.
Little did they realize it would lead to
liberation.
So those of you from the KI community know me as the conductor of the Keystone State Boy Choir. And we've had the privilege of singing at KI many times. And as I said, it was really Lisa Marlowe who invited us there to sing at Yom HaShoah services. But tonight I'm here as playwright and director of The Last Boy, a new play with music. And as the video just indicated, it had its world premiere in this past July. And in fact, I see Larry Weiss, and I'm going to embarrass him as well and say thank you, Larry, to you and Harriet, because they helped make that world premiere production happen. I don't know how many people know this, but the reason why I took the Keystone State Boy Choir to the Czech Republic in Terezin is one night at a rehearsal with 7- and 8-year-old boys. One 8-year-old boy turned to the other and said, "You know, the Holocaust never happened." That was at a community-based choir rehearsal in a very progressive city of Philadelphia. And that 8-year-old boy, I'm pretty sure, didn't even know what he was saying, but he heard it. And at that moment, I decided the Keystone State Boy Choir needs to tour a country where there's a history of the Holocaust and concentration camps. And I settled on Terezin because I stumbled upon this amazing story of these boys in dorm number 1 of Terezin, or as the Germans called it, Theresienstadt. The 100 boys that passed through that room fought the Nazis with poems. And one boy saved them. And when I say he saved them, sadly, he did not save most of the boys. By 1945, all 100 boys who had passed through this propaganda camp known as Terezin had been transported to Auschwitz. Only one boy remained, 15-year-old Sidney Tausig. And he was smart enough to take the 800 pages of poems that the boys wrote, gathered every Friday night for their literary Seder, and read aloud to each other. He grabbed them and he buried them along with his babichka's ashes so that the Nazis could not burn them. And the only reason we have those 800 pages, this magazine, which is not only the longest running underground publication of the Holocaust, not only a beautiful work of art, but it's the most important document that tells us what happened in Terezin, though the boys did not intend it for that reason. We have it because of Sidney Tausig, the last boy. And he's 92 today, living in that 6th borough of New York City, Florida. So you all have a chance to see this play on April 27th, and I will send a link out. It's really important that I have your help. Of course, I would love for you to see the play on April 27th, but there's 2 other reasons I need your help. 1, survivors and a guest, of course, come gratis. So if you know a survivor who would like to come to see the play on April 27th, to be honored, the page that I'll send you to will have a link so that the survivor can request tickets. And this is the thing I'm so excited about. The play has 10 boys. You can't afford 100 boys on Broadway, but we want to honor all 100 boys who passed through that room, most of whom did not survive. And the way we're going to do it is at the conclusion of the play on April 27th, 100 young people are going to rise up from the audience to represent all 100 boys. And they will all be holding a candle from the Israeli organization Our 6 Million with the name of that boy on the candle with some facts about who they were before the Nazis tried to take away their identity and their life. And so we have some spots left. If you know a young person between 10 and 17 who would like to attend the play and be a part of that final moment of the play, there's also a link where they can voice interest to be a part of that. So before I introduce our first young man, and you guys are in for a treat because you're going to meet 3 of the boys who were part of the world premiere off Broadway. But actually, I do want to bring on Chris right now. Rabbi, if you would let Chris come on to the virtual stage with me. There is Chris. And I will be transparent and tell you that Chris is a member of KSB, and he has the distinction of being the one KSB member who was cast in the world premiere for Off-Broadway. Now you may think, nepotism. And it is true he had an advantage because he traveled with me to Terezin as a member of KSB. And so he understood the story, but he also is so talented and held his own against hundreds of young men who auditioned for the world premiere this past July. I'm going to show you another very short video, and I want you to see if you can spot Chris. You're going to see him as a boy in the room where the boys wrote it in Terezin. And you're also going to see him at the National Museum of American Jewish Heritage I think it was in 2018 when we brought Sidney Tausig to be honored there. You'll see him a little older as well. So there will be a test. See if you can spot him.
The journey began in 2016. A group of American choir boys went in search of another group of boys who 75 years earlier created a magazine that would liberate them from their captors in ways they never imagined. The journey led them to one of those boys, the last one, who 75 years earlier rescued that magazine from the clutches of the Nazis. The journey continued. They honored him by listening to him and remembering his friends who did not survive. And now they're bringing his incredible story off-Broadway. They reached beyond survival and grasped freedom.
Okay, who saw Chris? What is the song from Fiddler? How life goes by, right? So quickly, and children, and suddenly they're men. All right, Chris is going to sing a very short song that the boys would sing in the room that was published in the magazine. It's based on a folk melody, but the lyrics were made up by the boys. Now, you have to listen carefully. It refers to what the Europeans call the water closet. Sorry, Rabbi, if that's not appropriate for a synagogue, for a service. And also gastrointestinal issues that were common in Terezin. And so, as you can see, the magazine was not all doom and gloom, but it showed the universality of boys and their sometimes inappropriateness. If we can just spotlight Chris, take it away.
The carpenters built us a big latrine. The cooksters are grubbing a big tureen. The food passes through us, we thank our stars. We sit there for hours on the carpenter's dream.
All right, now Chris is going to do a short monologue that his character delivers in the play. His character is the resident comedian. And raise your hand if you teach kids or interact with kids as a professional. Raise your hands if you have kids or raised kids. So you know that kids, especially at the teenage, can both love you and make fun of you. This is this character based on a real writing from the magazine, poking fun at their dorm dad, their madrik. Take it away, Chris.
I will give you 100% accurate characterization of the maestro. At exactly 7 a.m, he jumps out of bed and announces with a crafty smile, the last boy out of bed gets latrine duty, and Yearsy it is. Today's afternoon's work details for those who choose to shun their education, Matthias, will be assigned dormitory tests. After will be sorry, oh my gosh. All right. Will be assigned dormitory tests that will let me do that again. I'm sorry.
And this is what I love about live theater. It teaches young people, just like life itself, it keeps going. Pick yourself up. Go for it, Chris.
And Yerzy it is. Today's afternoon's work details for those who choose to shun their education, Matthias, garbage collection, and for those who wisely choose to advance their studies covertly in the attic, today's subjects will be mathematics and Hebrew. On lookout today will be Otto and Ralph. At noon, Maestro lines up with us at the canteen to devour his 5 lunches. Being in charge has its advantages. When we return to dorm number 1, he pulls himself to his full height of almost 4 feet, making him nearly visible, and yells, "Gentlemen, it's far too loud in here." This poor fellow with the forehead of a peasant trots up and down, assigning tasks that will never get done. All jobs must be completed by sundown or no dinner vouchers. Out there are sumptuous supper of rotten potato peels and turnips. Maestro delivers his after-meal musical lecture. The significance of Czech folk music and the late works of Dvorak. Upon returning from his evening rehearsal with the dreadful Terezin orchestra and chorus, Maestro flies high on wings of musical muses, evidenced by shouts of "Tutti ragazzi, pianissimo, gentlemen!" Have I ever mentioned I love Verdi's Requiem? Maestro, have we ever mentioned you're Jewish? At day's end, his final act of torture, singing. Spi, synaczku, spi, zawri oczka spi, dam de buben na uliczki, nie tamte sa specjaliczki, spi, synaczku, spi. And with that, the maestro passes out. And for the next 8 hours, not even the arrival of the Ruskies could rouse him. That is all one can say about the maestro. His sleep is the sleep of the just. So there is nothing more to write about, let alone ridicule. Signed, CJ.
Court jester. Great job, Chris. Rabbi, if you could bring on Jackson. Jackson, in the original production, played the youngest boy, Ralph, the most observant boy in the room. And since he starred in the world premiere, he did a national tour of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, starring as Charlie. So we're very proud of him, and we're glad to have him back. Now, something about the play that you should know and that you'll experience on April 27th is the boys do everything in the play. All the sound effects are created by the boys. The set is moved by the boys. So the dorm bunks also become the train cars that transport the boys to Auschwitz, or in their imagination, those dorm beds become ships on the water in their imagination. And Jackson was our resident dolphin. Jackson, I know your voice is lower now, but do you still have the dolphin sound?
Yes, I do.
Can you deliver it?
Yeah.
Wow, impressive, right? Love it. Okay, how many of you have been to Prague? Raise your hand if you've been to Prague. If you know Prague, you know that it is a most beautiful city. And Terezin was an hour north. Here's a map of it. Terezin is an hour north of Prague. Raise your hand if you've been to Terezin. So you can see Prague, and you can see Terezin, and then you can see when the boys were transported from Terezin to Auschwitz. It was technically a 3 to 4 hour ride, but we know that it was much longer. So Jackson is going to deliver an extraordinary poem that a boy named Hannes Hockenberg wrote. And I like to say, or repeat the phrase, this moment is more precious than you think. I want everybody to just listen into these words. This boy, Hannes, wrote this poetry. He did not survive, but his writings did. And the fact that we're hearing them today and that Jackson knows them means that his life was not in vain. If we can spotlight just Jackson.
How long since I watched the sun fall below you, Prague? Eyes ablaze wrapped in your night shadows. How long since I stood on Charles Bridge to hear the pleasant rush of water over the weir in the Vltava? I long for the bustle on Wenceslas Square, those unknown nooks in the old town, those shady, sleepy canals. Do they cry for me as I do for them huddled in this hole? Mighty streets stand in for priceless beauty. Prague, how well I remember you. A fairy tale.
Awesome job.
Thank you.
Awesome job. And if you may have picked this up, friends, he was doing motions that matched the words of the poem. And in the play, the Nazis have heard the boys carrying on. And so the way that they carry on the poetry is not with words, but with motions. At this time, I would like to bring on Lucien.
Hey there.
All right. Lucien is in his first year of college. So for all boys, but especially young men, giving up a Friday night, and this was last minute because Chris was supposed to do this live. So thank you, Chris, for being willing to carry this presentation. He's local to Philly, but once it went to Zoom, there are silver linings, right? I just dropped some emails and Jackson showed up and Lucien showed up, but giving up a Friday night at college, Lucien, we really, really appreciate you. Lucien, we talked about the dorm dad and that he really knew that he had to do something in dorm number 1, because if you can imagine, friends, there were 40 boys in the room at any one time, and the room should have accommodated 8. So can you imagine 40 pubescent boys in one room living together? There were fights. And so the dorm dad, the Madrik, wanted to inspire the boys. And he actually first inspired them by introducing them to a very famous book. Lucien, what do you remember about that book?
That book is it's called The Republic of Shkid. And so the dorm dad, who they knew as the maestro, he introduces this book to them, this rowdy bunch of boys, and they're inspired by it because the boys in the book, they create their own government and they hold like a self-government that they create themselves. They create bylaws, all kinds of things. And they have a president and other positions as well. What was Luca's position? What was he?
Luca was the constable. So the boys came up with penalties for infractions. So if they used a bad word, if they didn't clean up after themselves, they'd have to pay with food vouchers, because the boys would get vouchers and they would go to the canteen for lunch and for dinner. And if they broke a law, they'd have to hand over. But because they were self-policing themselves, the behavior immediately improved. And then they created this magazine. So what you're about to hear now, friends, is the actual speech that the young man who was the president of this self-government of these boys gave on the very first night that the government began. These are his actual words.
We no longer want to be an accidental group of boys giving into fate. We want to create through hard work and discipline our own society. We have been unjustly uprooted from our families, neighborhoods, schools, and friendship from which our young lives drew strength. They have only one aim in mind: to destroy us, not only physically, but mentally and morally. Will they succeed? Never! Robbed of our cultural endeavors, we shall create new ones. Separated from all that gave us pleasure, we shall find new ones. Cut off from a well-ordered society, we shall build a new one based on organization, meaningful activity, and trust. On this fourth night of Hanukkah, and it also being Christmas Eve, let us not allow our hearts to be hardened by hatred and anger, but today and forever, let our highest aim be love for our fellow man and contempt for racial, religious, and nationalist strife.
So there you have it. And I thank Lucien because that was not his monologue in the play. But the last entry that I'm going to share with you, friends, and I know maybe we're running a little longer than perhaps a service normally does, but as I know that you agree, this is important. And so I'm going to ask that Lucien deliver the last entry. And I don't think this is a spoiler, but this is actually the monologue that Lucien delivers. And he is the second to last boy in the room. And there's something that indicates to him that of the two boys that are left, he's the one that's going to be transported. And so before he leaves, he escapes for a moment and he remembers a time back in Prague during the winter time. And so with this snowy weekend, I would like Lucien to deliver this very powerful speech.
Outside the window, crystal flakes swirl through the air like dancers. Prague is enfolded in its princely white robe. I hurry down to the kitchen. A steaming cup of cocoa and a buttered roll baked to a golden brown await. The room is warm and made twice as pleasant by the north wind blowing outside. Sandwich in my back, my skates and stick, a kiss from mom, and I'm off. Across the street, my schoolmates beckon. The sun is out, adding diamond sequences to the city's royal garment. The air is crisp, voices are clear, and souls are uplifted. Passerby break out into bright smiles at our traveling snowball battle as we make our way to school. After an eternity of lessons, a noisy, jubilant mob pours out of the gates. I race down to the lake, where human figures circle on a perfect field of ice. Time passes like the puck that races across the ice. And suddenly, tired, rosy-cheeked, I am home again, where a steaming bread bowl of goulash awaits me in front of a crackling fireplace. Satiated, I stretch out onto the coziest sofa ever made, and a book on space travel transports me to a galactic country far, far away. I tumble into bed with memories of this perfect day until sleep comes, and with it, wonderful dreams of all my tomorrows.
Amazing job, Lucien. Rabbi, if you could bring Chris back and Jackson. And at this time, boys, gentlemen, please take a bow. Very nice. And friends, I'm going to do two things. There is the link in the chat. And if anybody is also on the YouTube, maybe you could put that link in the chat. but this is the link to the performance on the 27th. Yes, there is going to be a bus that you can take as an option for transportation from KI, but everybody has to purchase their own tickets. And then if you choose to take the bus, you'll be able to sign up for that later, or you can go up on your own. And also, if maybe everybody would go to the link right now and scroll down to the bottom, and you will see the very important link so that if you know a survivor, they may request a ticket for themselves and a guest. And also, if you know a young person between the ages of 10 and 17 who wish to be a part of the finale of 100 in the final moments of the play, when 100 young people rise up in the audience to represent every one of those 100 boys, 6 out of 7 of the boys perished. But as I said, they live on thanks to these gentlemen and thanks to Sidney Talzig, and hopefully in a small way due to the play. And I think that's it, Rabbi and Cantor Amy. And I just really thank you for the great privilege of being with everybody this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you all so much for being here with us this evening. Cantor Amy, do we have a few minutes to take a few questions from folks in the chat?
What else are we doing?
What?
What else are we doing this evening, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like going to start snowing soon. We're all already at home. We can like make cocoa. But Steve, I'm wondering if the boys are willing to answer a couple questions.
Get back on stage, boys.
So if people want to put into the chat, if you have a question, I'll watch the chat, and Cantor Amy, you can watch the chat as well for questions, but I'll just open it up. Lucian, Jackson, Chris, are you Chris or Christopher?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Christopher, doesn't matter.
Mr. Simcox, what was it like for you to embody the voices of these boys? There's something special about voicing a character who really lived. So I wanted to ask about the experience of stepping into the character of these boys and what that's been like for you guys.
It's been really powerful, and it's been a really good experience to be looking at all these boys' poems and prose and songs, and to be doing it on stage. And what made it really real for me is when I actually got to meet Mr. Talzig in Philly at the one performance in 2018, and we would ask him questions about, oh, did you know this specific person who wrote this poem, or did you know that person who wrote that poem? And when he gave us some of the answers, and he was like telling us all his stories about all these different people, it was something, and it really made it real for me, and made it real for the other boys that were there with us.
And I also want to add that when I asked Mr. Talzig if I could have his blessing to write a play inspired by his life, I was very nervous, and he said, on 2 conditions. And I thought, royalties, of course, you can have all of them, approval on the script. He said, 1, there better be laughter, because we were ordinary boys in extraordinary circumstances, and we laughed. And 2, I want to see it before time does what Hitler could not achieve. How about a question for Jackson or Lucian? Anybody have one?
Yeah, you guys can tackle that first one, but there are a few other very details-oriented questions. But yeah, Lucian or Jackson, do you guys want to tackle that first one?
Yeah, sure. It was my character Jacob was based off Peter Gins, and his diary is like, I ordered it on Amazon. Like I have it in my room. It's crazy. I really tried my best to really to learn how this boy lived, who he was. I mean, it gives you a profound amount of gratitude for everything that we have today, for the communities we have today. It also gives you a profound amount of gratitude for art and how it lives on and really what it does. Yeah.
And just to add to that, sometimes it can sound sort of cliche what the arts do for people, but in my mind, and what was really my foundation for writing the piece, is that the boys found liberation without the Nazis. And thank God, because most of them would not get liberation. And we know, for instance, Hannes Hackenberg, this is really incredible. There are uncoordinated, unsolicited accounts from people who survived Auschwitz that there was a boy named Hannes, and he would write poetry, and he would pass the poetry throughout Auschwitz. And if your shed was lucky enough to get his poem, everybody would read it, and then they'd pass it on to the next shed. And the poem doesn't survive, but the one that everybody remembers is called The Gong. And it was Hannes writing about the hell that was Auschwitz, and the only respite was sleep. And when that gong went off in the morning, it was a return to hell. And I know that that's very somber, but we know that art is a cathartic experience. And so I know that writing about it was a solace to him, and in sharing that poem was a solace to the people who read it in Auschwitz. Jackson, what do you want to say? Or do we have a question for Jackson?
Well, actually, we have a question directed towards Jackson. So this is perfect. Jackson, how has playing this part impacted your life?
I was able to grow more information about the Holocaust, which was just really exciting for me to learn about it. It was very sad, but I like to think about the positives. And also, I was very excited to have my bar mitzvah on stage because my bar mitzvah got canceled due to COVID, so it was really amazing to have it on the stage where I love to be.
And I just want to clarify that what Jackson is saying is life imitating art, imitating life. During the rehearsal period for the world premiere of The Last Boy, Jackson, who is playing the boy who makes his bar mitzvah in Terezin, turned 13.
Hello.
Is that awesome?
That's awesome. That's amazing. So Jackson.
Yes.
Did you get to chant the same Torah portion? No, just kidding.
What did you chant? What does your character chant? Go ahead. What does he chant in the play at the wedding?
The Shema.
Go ahead.
Fair.
Oh. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Yay.
Very nice. So we have a question from Dan. This one, I guess, is to Steve, but I guess anyone who is part of the boy choir singing at the National Museum, the National American Jewish Museum can answer this one. What song or songs did the boy choir sing to Mr. Tausig?
Well, we sang some KSB standards. Ashlosha, Ashlosha, Divarim Haolam Kayam. Not bad for a Catholic kid, right, Rabbi?
Yeah, not
bad. And we sang the anthem. Oh, this was crazy. I don't know if any of the boys are brave enough to sing it, but when we went, okay, so I hate social media as a teacher. I hate it. I hate that kids are obsessed with it. But the boys actually found him on the internet when they wondered whether one of the boys were still alive, and they found him in Florida. And we went down and met him. And when he found out we were a boy choir, he said, oh, we used to sing an anthem that we wrote every night, every Friday night before we read the poems. So he starts singing it in Czech, and I transcribed it, and it's part of the play. I don't know, anybody got it? Go ahead, Jackson.
What joy is ours after the strife? In number one we've made our bid. Self-government has come to life. Long live the Republic of Shkid.
Good. Go ahead, Luchin, take over.
Every person is our brother. whether Christian or a Jew. Proudly we are marching for
Everybody.
The Republic of Shkid is me and you.
And I want everybody to note the words that the boys wrote for their anthem. Every person is our brother, whether Christian or a Jew. These boys wrote those words about Jews and Christians, but there were no Christians in the room. There were some mishlings, there were some mix, but the point is the wisdom and the kindness that these boys found in their hearts, despite their circumstances. It's just incredible. And I know all the boys feel just privileged. And I tell people, I'm technically the playwright, but we're really conduits for these boys. They're the writers, and we're just honored to make sure that their stories are not forgotten.
Steve, thank you so much. There's one final question. I feel like this is a good question to go out on. If we cannot see this show live, will we have the opportunity to watch another way? Will it be filmed? And I want to throw out another question. Is there a way that that we can set up a live stream link or something from the benefit for people possibly to watch maybe like in the sanctuary at or Hadash or KI or other places if they're not able to travel?
There is a plan underway. Of course, everything in New York is very expensive, and to live stream is extremely expensive, but we're working on it. But also know that any ticket bought is underwriting. First of all, it's a benefit. It's benefiting nonprofit organizations, many Jewish nonprofit organizations, and any ticket that's not used, know that ticket is helping to underwrite survivors. We have so many survivors coming, incredible people. Michael Bornstein, the youngest survivor from Auschwitz. He's the little boy who was showing his number with the other kids in the striped uniforms. But also, you know, with this crazy business, I tell the boys, who knows what will happen, but there's a lot of discussions going right now on about a tour to Washington, D.C., to Florida, to Arizona, to California. And of course, we have to stop in Pennsylvania because, hello, go Philly, go Eagles, go Wawa, go Hoagies. But we will certainly keep everybody abreast. I put, actually, what the best way to stay in touch is I'm going to put the address for the website for the show in the chat, thelastboy.info. And then you have my email address as well. And if you email me, I can put you on the mailing list. Some of you are already on it, but we will be sure to keep you informed about the opportunities as this play continues to grow. And I thank everybody in this community that has helped it have a life.
Thank you so much again for everything and for all that you have shared with us. And we're really looking forward to hearing more and to of course seeing the play. So now we have, thank you. Now we have some announcements from KI, and then we'll have some from Or Hadash as well. So our president is Janice Schwartz Donahue, and so I'm going to ask her to unmute and to share some KI announcements.
Well, thank you very much. I was writing down Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's Zooming and watching on YouTube, watching this mesmerizing, emotional, moving, spectacular service. It's applause to everyone. And again, woo. So here we go. I want to thank, of course, our own Cantor Amy Levy and her beautiful smile, always, and our guests from Or Hadash and HAMEC this evening. A special thanks to Rabbi Sklover. It's a pleasure meeting you and leading our service and leading us in prayer. That's wonderful. And I know that Rabbi Sussman, I saw him writing in the chat, so I know that he's always looking over our shoulders, so he's out there somewhere. And of course, to Steve Fisher, this is just wonderful. And the Last Boy cast, to Jackson, Lucian, and Christopher. I feel like we're buddies already. And I also wrote down all of the links, so we'll make sure we have them on the KI website. And I know, Rabbi, you'll get them out to people at Or Hadash, so we're taking care of all of that. Just a few announcements. Oh, thanks to the technology that keeps us spiritually close when we cannot be together. So I'm thanking Zoom, and I'm thanking YouTube and StreamSpot. Torah study tomorrow morning at KI will be led by Isaac Kruger, 9 a.m. on Zoom. And Torah study is always followed by Kaddish and this week's memorial list. Now, these things are special to KI, but we love when other people come to our events. So you can join us for Torah study. Our next February is the shortest month, but our KI calendar is full. Just a few quick things. Our next rabbi talk is scheduled for this coming Wednesday, February 2nd at 7:30 p.m. It's going to be a very special interview on rabbinic portraits. It will be done by artist Deborah Schaefer and, of course, our own Rabbi Sussman. Deborah is in the process of painting the portrait of Rabbi Sussman that will be hung in a special place in our fine Schreiber lobby for all to see upon his retirement in June. Adult Ed programs will resume on February 14th with a special program on 20th century painters by Biala Miller, who's of Miller Music in the Fine Arts program. And our Myers Library is continuing their film series, Jewish Americans. The last installment will be shown this Monday, the 31st. And on February 7th, Lee Slobodkin, who also has a fabulous voice, and Linda Roth will be joining forces for a special music program and a Stephen Sondheim Memorial. And please join us next Shabbat, Friday, February 4th, for birthday blessings and anniversary blessings and the postponed bar mitzvah of Henry Reese Goldstein. And everybody keep warm and stay safe from the snow, and Shabbat Shalom from KI. Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you so much, Janice. I will add some announcements from Or Hadash. First of all, a big thank you to Pat Steinberg and to Rich Davis, who are our digital ushers and greeters this evening. And if you are interested in becoming a digital usher or greeter, please contact Carolyn Savitsky. So really quickly, Rich, Pat, can you give us a thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether or not this is an easy job? You'll have to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or maybe just unmute yourselves and say easy or hard.
Easy.
Easy.
There you go. So if you want to be a digital greeter, please be in touch with Carolyn. Tomorrow morning, also at 9 o'clock in the morning, is Torah study, which will be on Zoom, followed by services at 10 a.m. and Rabbi Vivian will be laning Torah this week. Also, services will be on Zoom. From the Social Action Tikkun Olam Committee, our soup making deadline for cooking for friends, cooking a warm meal to be delivered to those who are food insecure throughout our region is being extended through the end of the month. Please be in contact with Vivian Kane if you are unable to bring the soup to Or Hadash's freezer for pickup. She's willing to come to you to pick up. Also, there are containers available in both the solarium and in the community room. And in those soup making kits are the addresses other than Or Hadash where you can drop off your soup donations. Our adult education series, Making Life Richer Through Ritual, continues this Sunday morning at 10 a.m. There will be a third session also on February 6th. Registration is still open. It helps if you attend all three, but it is not required. So we hope that you'll join us this Sunday morning at 10. Smile School is online this week, Sunday the 30th. It will resume in person the following Sunday, the 6th, on site at Or Hadash. Next Friday night, February 4th, is our first Friday family service, also with birthday blessings. I love it when communities do the same thing. Our Tot Shabbat will be online at 6 o'clock, followed by on Zoom, community candle lighting, and then at 7 o'clock, our first Friday family service, which will be hosted by our Kita Aleph Bet, our first and second grade class. We are still not sure whether the family service at 7 p.m. will be hybrid or online only. Please keep your eyes on your email for that determination. A quick message about a few really wonderful mitzvah projects going on at Or Hadash or by our Or Hadash 7th graders. David Jones's mitzvah project, he is still recruiting for his cubing and mental health club. He has put together both resources and a digital club on Zoom for kids who are Rubik's cubers and want to use this skill as a way of as a form of mindfulness to help with anxiety, anger management, and other mental health challenges. So please be in touch with him if you are a cuber or you want to learn about cubing or about mental health issues. His website is mc3.org to be part of the Cubing Cubed Club, raising awareness around mental health through cubing and other mindfulness activities. And then Adeline Harris's mitzvah project through the JRA, she is still collecting greeting cards to put in her JRA delivery boxes. So if you want to write a greeting or make a card, please do drop it off in the Or Hadash office or get in touch with Adeline or her family. If you are not a member of Or Hadash and want to make greeting cards for the JRA, you can be in touch with me or with office@orhadash.com. And lastly, we are thrilled to be welcoming our scholar in residence this year, the first weekend of April. That is Friday night, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. Joey Weisenberg will be joining us for a Shabbat in song for our scholar in residence. Please save the date and keep your eyes open for more details about the format, and schedule of that scholar in residence weekend. But SIR 2022 is on. And we rise in spirit or in body for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shapach l'adon hakol, l'ateit gdula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim u'mishpachavim u'modim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, hakadosh baruch hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
We can be seated. As we turn to the mourner's Kaddish, we also turn in our hearts and our memories to those whom we've loved and lost. On this Shabbat following International Holocaust Remembrance Day, we remember also all of those who perished in the Shoah and the Holocaust. If there's someone who's connected to your family who died in the Holocaust or who was a survivor who has passed, I want to invite you to share their names in the chat so that their memories and their legacies can join us here into this space. We also remember those whom we've loved and lost in recent days and weeks. At Or Hadash, we're still in a period of Shloshim, the month following the passing of Herta Kane, mother of Vivian Kane, of Arnold Burson, father of Alan Burson, father-in-law of Cheryl, and of Pearl Goldman, mother of Jerry Goldman, mother-in-law of Jeff Chebet. We also mark the Yortzites this week at Or Hadash of Matthew Fields, brother-in-law of Stephanie Fields, Bob Crabb, father of Melissa Crabb, Kay Citron, mother of Robert Citron, and Andrew M. Nemeth, late husband of Rabbi Vivian Shern.
We remember also these loved ones of our congregation who have gone to their eternal rest during the course of the last 30 days. Gladys Felcher Rubin, Professor Diane Ashton, Bob Saget, Ethel Fabius Ivans, Gloria Greenberg, Rosalind Gordon, Florence S. Ain. At this sacred moment, we recall the anniversaries of the deaths of these loved ones of our congregation at this time in years past. Steve Allen, Aaron Heimer, past president, Lily R. Asher, David Askin, Joyce L. Baum, Carol Bernard, Julian Burrs, Elsa Block, Sylvia Bronstein, Faye Brown, Sandra Brown, Leonard J. Brown, Barry Chasen, Stacy Beth Cohen, Mariana Deantis, Erwin D. Haven Fall, Molly Feldman, Martin Feldscher, William Finkel, Annette Fox, Andrea Gibbs, Anna Goldberg, Regina Goldenberg, Jesse Goldstein, Geraldine Greenwald, Ann Grubman, Jason J. Helfond, Clara Hearns, Anna Kalkheim, Mark K., Elaine Kaiserman, Adele Cornfield, Jason B. Lennett, Gertrude Levine, Francis Lewenstein, Anita Lipson, Herman Madnick, Rachel Mallon, Ruth Mandel, Nicole McDonald, Jane Monheit, Martha Mizell, Ann Netzman, Jerry New, Jean Perlmutter, Minnie Rhoda, Norman Wolf Rosenberg, Nina Rubinson, Francis Rush, Henrietta Saphir, Larry Satin, Harold Schwartz, Bernard Schwartz, Milton Sorokin, Dr. Louis Udell, Leona Weller, Phyllis Winitsky, Esther Wolfert, Reuben Wolfert, and Frank Sector.
We rise in spirit or in body for mourners Kaddish and invite mourners, those observing a Yortzeit and all whose custom it is to rise for Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemeh Rabbah.
Ve'alma divrach
Irutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechol mivyomechol v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ha'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach v'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbalach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemeh tekudsha rehu. Le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Yehei shlama
Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Oseh shalom b'romav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu
ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. May their memories be a blessing for all of us.
Amen.
It is with absolute gratitude to Cantor Amy Levy for sharing this bima with me and with our congregation at Or Hadash tonight that we hand it over to her one more time with the hope that next time we can lead together in person on site.
Yes. Well, I just want to say thank you to you as well, Rabbi. It was just such a pleasure and a joy to be here with you and with your community and joining together. And we're going to end with such strength with the partisan song. Sag nicht einmal, als die jetzt den letzten Weg, hat Himmeln bleiene verstehen Leute, kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, Svette Pottun unser Trockne seinen Tau, kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkte Schau, Svette Pottun unser Trockne seinen Tau. Von grünem Palmenland mit weißem Land von Schnee. Wir kommen an mit unser Pein, mit unser Weh. Und wo gefallen ist der Spritz von unser Blut. Sprotten wird dort unser Gute, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist der Spritz von unser Blut. Sprotten wird dort unser Gute, unser Mut. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you all. Beautiful.